Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're going to be playing Pea Shooter from Katie Splendor. We featured a few puzzles from Katie Splendor over the years, so she's always been a phenomenal constructor, and really looking forward to today's puzzle, which has a 96% rating as of the time of recording. Worthwhile adding as well that this is a 1-star difficulty rated puzzle, so we're kind of back to our usual difficulty once again. Don't know about you, but a few years ago, the phrase pea shooter definitely kind of reminds me of this plant. It's got a head, some angry eyebrows, and they're shooting peas, normally at resurrected kind of skeletons. Not trying to be too specific, I imagine already this is sort of really coming very close to having a copyright strike with this thumbnail. But imagine if you're walking along and you come across a pea shooter that looks like this, you would be studying it as much as Sleuth is right now, or frankly running away, which Sleuth sometimes doesn't actually know what to be doing. Anyway, let's take a look at today's puzzle and rule set with Pea Shooter. And yeah, am I recording? Good. It's just you could see that I was doing a restart, and it's just because it wasn't actually recording the screen and I had to restart the video. Anyway, rules-wise, we've got normal Sudoku, global entropy, split peas, which is the first time I've seen this one, XV sums, and ratio Kropkis. Quick walkthrough through the rules, since the split peas is somewhat unique. Normal Sudoku, you know what that means. Place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row. Every column, of course, every 3x3 box, so nothing unusual here. Global entropy, every 2x2 box of cells contains at least one low digit, so 1, 2, or 3, one medium digit, 4, 5, or 6, and one high digit, 7, 8, and 9. So essentially every 2x2 would have at least one of each. These 2x2, for example, now have a medium digit, a high digit. One of these two cells has to be low. And obviously this kind of fourth one could be whatever it wants to be. Then we have XV sums. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I will come back to split peas last. XV sums, digits connected by a V sum up to 5. So if this cell is a 2, this would have to be a 3 to make sure these two cells add up to 5. Cells connected by an X must sum up to 10. So if this is 3, this would have to be 7 to add up to 10. No negative constraints, so I can have a 3 in here, I could have a 7 in here, adds up to 10, adds up to 5, none of this is a problem. Then we of course have the ratio Kropki, so digits connected by a black Kropki dot have a ratio of 2 to 1. If this cell is a 2, this would have to be a 1 or 4 for these two cells to be, kind of one of them to be in a 2 to 1 ratio. A 4 in here and a 2 there, because of the no negative constraints, will be absolutely fine, even though there is no black Kropki dot and they are in a 2 to 1 ratio. Let's talk about the split peas. The sum of the digits in cells connecting two circles is equal to the concatenation of the digits in the circles in some order. Now, that's a very precise way of saying that essentially this line that is connecting these two circles, you add up all of the digits, it will come up to a value. And the value has to be essentially the concatenation of these two digits. So if this is, for example, 4 and 3, then essentially the sum of these would have to be 34 or 43. The order is entirely up to you. As always, to play along, link in the description down below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. I just actually noticed that there's another circle in here. So essentially, these three cells are adding up to a 1-digit number? I'm not actually sure. I'll think about this a bit later. Right, I think this is actually the more interesting bit, because that's quite a lot of digits to come up to a relatively low value. And I know it's relatively low because obviously these two cells add up to 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a high digit with 6, 7, 8, 9. This is another high digit with 6, 7, 8, 9. This is another 1, 2, 3, 4, of course. It can be a 4 with a double 9, so I will leave that. Can it? No. 4 here would require 9, would require 1, would require 4 again, which would break. So 4 is not an option. 1, no, it gives me flexibility. 3. So whatever the low digit this is, let's think about this actually. I'm going to use some colors. So imagine that these are 1, 4. I'm going to color these blue. That would have to be from 2, 3. So I'm going to color this green. And because this is green, these have to be blue. So in essence, I have the same pairs in here. Now, because this is, I actually don't know if that's true. It's not on the German whisper line, so I don't know if this is low or high. Obviously, I knew this is, how did I miss the German whispers? Is it not in the rules? It isn't in the rules. So I don't actually know that digit at all. Sorry, I just jumped to a conclusion there. Yeah, we know nothing about this green line. It is not in the rules. I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but let's assume it isn't. Can't have 7 or 9 on a black Kropki dot, because half of 7 is 3.5, half of 9 is 4.5. We're not allowed non-integer, so this is 6 or 8. Therefore, this will be 3 or 4, and therefore this is 4 or 2, and therefore this is 1 or 3. I mean, this could be really anything. 2 or 4 in here means this is from 1, 2, 4, 8. This is from 1, 2, 4, 8. I'm sure we can do a little bit better to kind of reduce our options here. I mean, not really, because the 2 and 4, I mean, this can't be, again, it's not German whisper line, so no. Huh. Right. Back to this original idea that these are relatively low digits and this is a relatively high sum. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. Even if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is a minimum of 15. And let's say that this is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it can't be because this is a low digit of 1, 2, 3, 4. So if there is a 5, it's somewhere on here, and I'm sharing this digit. But even if it's a 4 that I'm sharing in here, and this is 1, 2, 3, 5, this is 1, 2, 3, 5. So that's 11, 11, 22, plus the 4, I'm at a minimum of 26. Doesn't really feel like enough to push me into any number here. Well, 26 isn't forcing anything. Because I can get away with 31, I can get away with 33 or 43 or 41. So this doesn't force anything in here. And because this could be the 3, doesn't force anything in there either. Interesting. 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 in here. So I have 2 low digits. I will need, again, if I absolutely maximize this with 4 and 1, notice the 1 in here means that these digits now are 2, 3, 5, 6. So it's starting to get big in that's 10, 15, 20, and then 11, that's 31. That's the minimum now. Huh. Sorry, the fact that these are not German whispers according to the rules has really thrown me off. I thought we were going to be in for an easy time, and that kind of surprised me. I don't think my statement, therefore, is true about this, because we don't know that this is actually a low digit anymore. So other than knowing that these are low and these are high, I can't actually say this is a green low digit and that these two are the same. So the fact that these two cells are at least 6s means that we're concatenating the 1 digit here. And essentially, we're either talking about, presumably, 11 or 22. I don't think I can get to 33. So if this is 3, let's use that as an example. These 3 digits, I cannot get 3 digits Now I'm going to reread the rule. Split P is the sum of the digits in cells connecting two circles is equal to a concatenation of the digits. So I am going to make an assumption, because the rules are not telling me otherwise, that these three add up to one sum that is equal to these three. I'm not adding up 6 digits to come up to a total. I'm adding up 3 digits and 3 digits, and they're coming up to this total twice. And therefore, even if this is 999, which it can't be, that's 27 maximum. So that can't be a 3. This is 1 or 2. But again, because this is a minimum of 6 and 6, that's already at 12, and 11 doesn't work. So I'm going to say this is definitely 2. Therefore, these are not 1s or 2s, because that would have forced this to be the, something. So that's 4, 8, 2, 4, 1, 3, not an 8. And we're making these 3 cells add up to 22. And these 3 cells add up to 22 as well. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, you can see how this is definitely not German Whisper now. To get to 22, even if I maximize these with 9 and 8, that is 17. This is at least a 5. So this is at least a 5. And obviously if I go double 6s, that's 12. That would go all the way up to 10, which is obviously not allowed. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It could be essentially any high digit to allow these 3 cells to get to 22. And then these 3 have to get to 22 as well. 22 in 3 cells is not that difficult. 6, 7, 8 is 21. So I think 22 has to include a 9, doesn't it? Because 6, 7, 8 is only 21. So one of these 2 cells is definitely a 9. And then if memory serves, we're talking about a 9 with a 13. So it's either 6, 7, 9 or 5, 8, 9. It doesn't have a 4. 4 plus 8 and 9, which wouldn't have been an option, because if that's 4, that's 8, doesn't get me to 22. So that's the 8, 4. This has to be a 5, 9 pair. That 8 means this has to be 4. This has to be 1. Remember what I said earlier about how this is at least 31? With this being a 1, this has to be a high digit of 3 or 4. So it's not 1 or 2. This is therefore not 3 or 4 to get me to 1 or 2. I don't have an 8 as an option. That is definitely therefore 1 and 9. Now, 3 cells to add up to 22 with a 9. These 2 cells have to add up to 13. So it's 6 and 7, or 8 and 5, I'm going to say. And this is forced, and the 1 here tells me that's a 4. So these cells have to add up to 41. And over here, because it's 4, I mean, it could be 2 or 8. I think the 8, I can actually just about get away with it. 4 in here tells me that's a 6, which tells me it's a 3, 6, and 3. Lose these before I do something stupid with these pencil marks. And we're off and racing. I hope. No 1s. Definite 1. 1, 2, 3 could be anywhere. 4, 5, 6 could be largely anywhere. 7. So 1, 6, 1, 3, 6, 7. And this is not 3 or 6. This is 1 or 7. That's kind of all I can do in box 5 for now. 1 in here tells me this is either... Now, there's too many options. Actually, 2, 4, 8. No, never mind. More senior moments. 2 cells that add up to a 2-digit number. Not great options, really. So I think my best next clue is to think about the 41. Probably. So 1 is somewhere in here. Can't be there because that would be 9. Is it worthwhile spending some time on this? So this is 2, 3, 4, 6, 8. That's all of my options. It can't be a 1. These are all the valid black Kropki dot digits. That can't be to add up to 10. Well, the 8 is not available, so that's not 2. The 2 is not available. That's not an 8. The 6 doesn't work because the 4 is not available. So like my options are actually severely limited. 3 and 4 means that this is 6 or 7. And 3 or 4 in here tells me that this is either 6 or 2, 8. So 4, 6, 2 or 8, 3, 7, and 6. All of that seems okay to me. 3, 6 tells me this is from 1, 2, 4, 8. Not really a lot more. 3 and 6 tells me that the 3 and 6 are up here, but doesn't necessarily force it on this black Kropki dot. Three is in here, 6 is in there. I mean, I could definitely start thinking about the sum in here. Because it doesn't feel like I have enough information for anything else. 2, 5, 7, 8. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think next steps are Sudoku. I'm genuinely not seeing necessarily any other obvious next steps other than spending time on this sum. Right, let's try this again. Like 8 and 9, are they even real options? Is 8 even a real option? So last time I did this, I got to 31 as the minimum, and now I'm trying to get to 41, which means that 8 feels entirely achievable. And essentially it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 was kind of the rationale. I can obviously try and actually 31 thing was maybe a mistake. If I made that 2 and 3, for example, I'm reusing a 2 as opposed to a 4, which probably would have given me a lower sum. Not that it's a problem right now. And that would mean that I would have been using 1, 4, 5, 6, and 2. So that's one set, and then obviously the 2 now puts a bit of a constraint actually up here. In that I would have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. So that would be the 2 sums. One, 2, 3, 4, 8. So that's 18. That's 21 minus 3. That's also 18. I'm already at 36, which, given this is 41, is really not a problem. I'm really not sure, actually, where I'm meant to be looking next. This all feels premature. And I have tons of options. So I should be voicing what I'm thinking. It's just like nothing's useful. I'm just sort of playing around with the constraints in my head, trying to see what I'm missing. "22" means that was 7. Kind of whoopsie. This is 258. 2 and 8 means this has to be 3, 6 now. Because essentially, if you think about kind of the black Kropki dot options, if I remove the 2 and 8, the 1 and 4 are clearly not going to be in a 2-to-1 ratio, so that leaves me with 3, 6 forced. I'm not going to get 2 digits to add up to 30 something. So I feel like this is forcing this to be a 1. 2 digits adding up to, 8 and 9, maximum is 17. Now, with the 3 and 6 means I'm already at 16 or 13. So this would have to be a 1. Therefore, this would have to be a 9. And then, in essence, to get to 13 or 16, this would either be 7 or 4. And it's entirely forced. As in, hugely restricted because this is 3 or 6. And therefore, this is another forced 7. Interesting. One and 9 are now here, not a 1. 3 and 6 are now here. Not sure I can see much more just yet. Could this be 4, 6 anymore with this setup in here? It would force this to be 3 and 7. 3 would force this to be 6. Yeah, so that doesn't work. So essentially, if this is 4, 6, well, that can't be 6, so that would be 3. That can't be 4, that would be 7. That would be 6. And then I have to get to 16, which would repeat the 7. Now, let's try 3, 7. 3, 7 would make this 6, would make this 4, make this 3, and then I would have to repeat. Interesting. So not 3, 7 either. This is 1, 2. Therefore, this is 3, 4. Two, 8 in here clearly doesn't work. It breaks this cell. So that's forced. That's 1. That's 9. That's not a 1. That's a 1. 1 is now in one of these two cells. 1 forces a 4 in here. That's not a 4. Progress, not a 9. Now, if this is a 1 and a 4, let's just think again about the minimum I can make this now. So on this side, it's 2, 3, 4, 5. So essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on here for 15. And on this end, it's 2, 3, 5, and 6. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So 15 and 21 minus 4, 17. 17 and 15, we're already at 32. So realistically, I can put a ton of high digits. Not brilliant. What else am I missing? is in here, not very helpful. 9 is in there, not very helpful again. This play between, let me think this through. So if this is 6, this is 7. If this is 3, this is 4. What is that telling me? 6, 7 means 3, 4. So essentially it's either 3, 4 or it's 6, 7. That might be interesting. If this is 3, 4, my options for low digits like dramatically decreases. Maybe to the point that it actually breaks. So let's try that. Without 3 and 4, the minimum I can make this now is 1, 2. Remember, it's still 5 digits. 5, 6, 7. So that's starting to look fairly large. So that's 28 minus the 7. That's already at 21. And then this corner, yeah, it's going to be fine, is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. So it's 21 minus the 4, which is 17, plus whatever that was. 28 minus the 7, 21, plus 17. I can get away with it. Barely, but I can get away with it. This not being 3, 6 is interesting, but not interesting enough for me. Nothing this stops us from being at 1 and this being at 2. Not very interesting. I'm fairly sure, like, you know, we've done the maths a few times. I don't really see a problem with this being a 9. What am I missing? Do I need to do more pencil marks? Global entropy. I've totally ignored that. Goodness me. That's a 5. That's a 9. Right. Wakey, wakey. Don't judge. No judgment. Right. Awake again. Ay, ay, ay. So I have to have a middle digit in here, which, to be fair, if this is 3, that's 4. And if this is 7, that's 6. So one of them was always going to be middle, excuse me. So doesn't matter. This has to be high now. 1, never was a 2, 3, 6. Just be kind in the comments is all I'm going to request here. There has to be a low digit in there. That's not a 7. That's a low digit here. This could be anything. Interesting now. There has to be a high digit in here. Now, I'm not sure I can get away with 2 high digits to sort of satisfy this 2 by 2 and 2 by 2. So like I'm wondering if this has to be an 8 now. Actually, the 3 there tells me that's a 4. That was not a 6. That 4 gives me a 6 in here. These 2 are now middle, and therefore this is high, except it's not 9. So this is 7 or 8. Now I need to have a low and a high digit in here somehow. If this is a high digit, it would have to be 7. If it's a low digit, it would have to be 3. So this is kind of surprisingly restricted with the 3, 7, 2, 8 and a 7, 8 in here. What more do I know? There has to be a high digit between these two cells. Can't see it. There has to be a high digit in here. Right, so this line is suddenly a lot more restricted than I've ever given it credit because of the number of high digits I need to have. I need to have at least 2 high digits. And in fact, on this corner, because of how low and middling these are, I have to have 2 high digits in here. Wow. Yeah, this is okay, a lot more interesting now. Now on here it's a bit more forgiving with the inclusion of a 7 there means I don't really have to have high digits here, here, here. And potentially I don't even have to have a high digit there either because I can get away with 1 here, second one there, and then I'm sorted. So I have 2 high digits minimum on both sides, but I don't have to have 3. What more do I know? Low and middle means this has to be high, because essentially there is a blue yellow. This would have to be high. Therefore that's 7. Therefore that's 4. Therefore that's 3 to get to 13 and 6. And that's forced. Not sure how it helps me yet. I'll take it for now. Has to be a high digit in here to go with the low and middle, so that's not an 8. And in fact, you can immediately place the 8 because I need to have a high digit in this box as well. So that's the 8. That's the 2. That's the 5. Otherwise, you wouldn't have satisfied global entropy. Not a 4 is a 4. 3 of them, that needs to middle. I'm sorry, I can't color. That's fine. That could be a 9. It's not a problem. Could be anything. Now there has to be a high digit in here. And it has to be an 8 because I've already used the 7 and 9. So, and it's joined with 3, 5. And then there's another 3, 5 down here to complete the column. That's not a 3. That's not an 8. So that's definitely the 8. That's high. Don't know what these two are just yet. But like, I mean, the sums now are starting to probably be worthwhile doing. This could be anything. There still needs to be a high digit in here. So if I'm trying to minimize the number of high digits, I would make this high now, which satisfies this block, not this block. So I still need 2 high digits in here to satisfy this block, and this block. Because, you know, this block doesn't share any digits with this one. So I still need 7 and 8 at a minimum, which gets me to 15. So 7 and 8, 2 and 3, that's 20, 21, 8 and 2, 31, 36, and a 5. So I only have 2 degrees of freedom now. Wow. Which obviously still allows me to have that 9, frustratingly. there is a medium digit in here, and it can't be 4 or 6, so 5 is definitely in one of these two cells. Puts a 5 up here. I mean, that's not a 6. That's not a 6. That is a 6. Doesn't help me with the 3s. This is now 2, 7, 8 to complete the column. That has to be a high digit. Trying to satisfy this box, so that's 8 or 9. This has to be a low digit. 2 or 3. Low digit, yeah? This 2 by 2 needs a low digit, which to be fair could be in here. I was reaching to the fact that the only low digit that's allowed there is a 3, but I could get away with a 2 here, and it doesn't force a 3, and I'll be fine. This group now needs to have a medium digit, and 4 and 6 are not allowed, so that's forced to be a 5. That could be anything. 2 medium digits means 1 is low, 1 is high. That 9 gave me an 8 had I paid attention. That can't be a 7, so that can't be high anymore. That's the 7. So that's my high digit. This is my low digit. It can only be 3, 2. 3 forces this to be 7 now. 7 forces this to be 8, 2. This is happy. This needs to be a high digit. It can only be a 9. This needed to be a low digit. That can only be a 5. That's high. Sorry, low. That's 3. Not a 3. Could be anything. Well, I mean, I'm really restricted now. So that took one of my degrees of freedom. Where am I going with this? I feel like this is forced to be a 3 because 4 is not available. Am I thinking that this is 3, 5? No, it's not. Right, let's do the maths. 16, 18. Actually, let's try that again. 10. This is 16 and 4. That's 20 and 10. That's 30. And then, is that only once or twice? Once. So I need these cells to add up to 11. 10, 8. So it is a 3, 5 pair. And if that's 3, that's a 5. If that's 5, that's a 3. Interesting. 3 in here tells me that's a 5. That's a 3. And therefore, to make the maths work, that's a 5. And that has to be low, and it's not 1. Could be 2 or 3. That has to be high. It's not an 8 or a 7. That's just forced. That's a 9. That's not a 9, which turns this into a 1, 9 pair. This has to be a low digit, and it's not 1 or 3, so it can only be a 2. Therefore, that's only a 3. And that's an 8. This is now, I'm going to say a 4, 5 pair. That's medium. That could be anything. There's already a high digit, so this is happy. Medium again, and then 1 red, 1 blue, so it doesn't matter. This can't be 1, 2, because they'll both be low, and then that would break this, so that's the 1, which gives me what I need up here and here. And then I think this should be relatively easy to bring home. Can't believe how long it took me to see that I wasn't using all the rules. 9 and 1. Like I said, be kind in the comments. High, low, need a middle, which can be 5 or 6. Could be anything, could be anything. Need a low digit in here, so it has to be a 2 somewhere in there. 1 and 3, so we need a middle digit from 4, 5, and 6, which is not here, it's there. It's not 5, and it's not 6, so it can only be 4. This would have to be 2 or 8. Seemingly both are fine right now. This has to be, well, the opposite. Well, not opposite. If this is 8, then we're fine. If it's 2, this would have to be a high digit, so it would have to be an 8. One of these two cells is definitely an 8, which Sudoku would have given me for free anyway. Have to have a middle digit. That's high. That can only be a 7. This is middle. It can be 5 or 6. Anything, I need to have a low digit, which again is forced anyway with 2, 5, 6. That is not 5 or 6, that's 2. That's 5, 6. 5, 6 pair is broken because I didn't pay attention to what's in the box. That was just a 5. This is 2, 9. That's the 9. That's the 2. This is, I'm going to say 6, 7 pair. That's not the 7. That's the 6. That's the 7. Anything, I mean, 1 is high, which is the 8. And it's a 2, 8 pair. That's not the 2. That's the 8. That's the 2. Happy. Not a 2. Is a 2. I mean, we don't really need to color the rest, do we? I think we can just do a bit of Sudoku to bring it home. Looks like a 7. 8. 3. 2. 5, 6. And if I'm not mistaken, 7 for the finish. I've made this way harder for myself. Well, hope you guys remember the rules when you're trying to solve it, because that would make a much easier solve for a 1-star difficulty rated puzzle. Hope you guys enjoyed the puzzle. And yeah, I'm going to quickly do this. I'm sure it will trigger some of you if I don't do it. It certainly is for me. There we go. See you back soon. Bye-bye for now.